Hey, my name is Leo Ebert. I'm going to teach you in this video how to fix a double counting Facebook pixel in Shopify. It really is a simple mistake that leads to this, but it's a huge problem if you have it, and it's really important that you get it fixed immediately. So, background on this, not too long ago, I was asked by an ad agency to take a look at one of their clients' Facebook ad accounts because they were having some trouble with the return on ad spend. It seemed to be declining and they were worried about it. So I jumped into the account. I was immediately surprised to see there were some exceptional revenue numbers there compared to the actual ad spend. Okay, we're talking 10x returns on cold prospecting, average order value of $300. So my first thought was, the last thing these people should be worried about is a declining ROAS with these numbers. They should be throwing every dollar they have into scaling up the ad spend. However, I quickly realized something was amiss. I became suspicious of the numbers I was seeing, so I requested access to the Google Analytics data, and I immediately confirmed my suspicions. The Facebook pixel was taking credit for nearly 100% of all the sales, and that should never happen. The only way that could ever happen is if 100% of your traffic was coming from the paid Facebook ads, which is very, very unlikely. And in this case, Facebook ads only accounted for about a quarter of the total traffic, so I knew that wasn't it. At this point, I was sure there was a problem, but I needed to figure out exactly what the problem was before I got back to the agency, so I went straight to the Facebook Pixel interface. The way to get to it is easy. You just click on this hamburger menu, and then there's usually a little button down here to extend the rest of it, and you click on the Pixel button. One quick way to check your Facebook Pixel data to make sure it's accurate is to compare the various events from your data to what you see in Google Analytics. So for example, page views according to the Facebook pixel should match up fairly closely with what you see in Google Analytics. It may not be a perfect match, but it should be pretty close. Just make sure you're comparing the same date ranges. And when I checked this account, here's what I saw. Notice anything funny about these highlighted numbers? Well, let's put it to you this way. You should never see a purchase number higher than add to cart or initiate checkout. It's literally impossible to buy something on a website without having added it to the cart first and initiating the checkout first. The only way to complete the purchase is by doing those two actions before you complete it. So you're going to always have fewer people purchasing than adding to cart because not everybody buys. Even if they did, the best case scenario would be 100% matching, so you'd see the same number, but that's pretty much impossible. Not everybody buys. But in this case, we're seeing the pixels showing 1,500 purchases compared to 1,100 add to cart events and 849 initiate checkout events. If this pixel were correct, what we should see is add to cart, then initiate checkout, and then purchase down here below that with declining numbers at each step. But here we're seeing purchases more than add to cart and initiate checkout. Something's definitely off. So here again, I've verified the pixel is not working properly, and the problem is at the purchase event. So I clicked the View Details link under Purchase. That should bring you to a screen that looks something like this. One thing I noticed almost right away was the timestamps of each purchase. Almost every purchase had an identical timestamp for the exact same purchase value. One of them had 3 timestamps, and a couple of them only had 1. But the vast majority were double counted purchases. Now, as a quick aside, you might be wondering why it would sometimes count a purchase once, other times 3 times, but usually twice. The answer is simple, as we'll see later in the video, the reasons why, but basically, users that had Java disabled would have only logged 1 conversion. And then users that refreshed the checkout confirmation page would have logged more than 2 conversions, 3 or maybe even 4 or more if they went back multiple times. Once I realized what the problem was and I figured out this website was hosted on Shopify, I knew immediately what was causing it. They had installed the pixel twice. Now Shopify has a native integration with the Facebook pixel that allows you to simply input your Facebook pixel ID and Shopify takes care of the rest. As you can see, they have the same type of integration with Google Analytics. You simply put in the Analytics ID, UA dash, and then there's a series of numbers, and it will automatically upload the Google Analytics code. This is the method most e-commerce sites should use because it's a seamless integration that works really well. So check your store to make sure you have this enabled before following the next steps. You can get there under Online Store and then Preferences. When I checked this client's account, I noticed that they had the correct Facebook Pixel ID, which is what I expected. And that meant they had either hard-coded the pixel into the theme files or they had added it into the additional script section of Shopify. I figured the section option was more likely, so I checked there first. You can access the additional scripts under Settings, then Checkout. And that brings you to a screen like this. This window is kind of small by default, but in most browsers you can just grab the bottom right corner of the text box and drag it to expand it. That's what I've done in this image. Sure enough, Look what I found in the additional script section, a Facebook conversion pixel. Because the Facebook pixel was loaded here as well as the native Shopify pixel setting, the pixel was firing twice almost every time the confirmation page loaded. That was what accounted for the exceptionally high return on ad spend and for the fact that Facebook was attributing almost 100% of the site's sales to its ads. Notice also that this pixel has the purchase amount hard-coded as $299. That's a huge mistake. I mean, unless in the rare event all of your products happen to be priced the exact same, you should never do this. And there's really no reason to. There's a Shopify specific shortcode you can put in there, which I'll include in the description below the video. And by the way, that shortcode works with any pixel, not just the Facebook pixel. So what's the solution to the double counting? Simple. Just remove the Facebook pixel from the additional script section of the checkout settings and leave the Facebook pixel ID in the online store preferences section of Shopify. That will ensure the native Shopify pixel integration is what drives the Facebook pixel data, which is what I recommend. Now, one other place to check, as I said before, it's also possible the site admin has hard-coded the Facebook pixel on the cart.liquid page or somewhere else in the theme files. So to check, navigate to Online Store and then click on the Edit Code button as shown here. Hard-coding pixels into Shopify files is usually a very bad idea, so avoid it if at all possible. But if it's been hard-coded, you might have to check multiple .liquid files to find it. So just open each one individually and use the Control F if you're on a Windows computer or Command F if you're on a Mac and search for your Facebook pixel ID until you find it. If you do find it, make sure you delete the entire pixel code and only the pixel code. It's really easy to mess up these liquid files and it can break your site. So if you do make a change here, it would be smart to do test purchase and make sure nothing is broken after you save the change. Or you could just go visit a checkout confirmation page that you have saved somewhere. And if it's still loading correctly and the site seems to be working properly, you're probably okay. Now here's a bonus tip that will prevent refresh from logging multiple conversions. I always recommend using the native integrations for the Facebook pixel and the Google Analytics within Shopify. That's what's available and it works really well, so use it. But that means all other pixels have to be put in the additional script section in order to track sales from various platforms. So like Bing, Google Ads, Pinterest, Twitter, etc. However, the problem is if a customer refreshes the confirmation page or they bookmark it and view it again later, which happens more than you might think, those pixels are going to fire every time and log additional sales that never occurred. That means bad data and bad decisions. That's what was driving triple counting that I explained above. But luckily, there's an easy workaround in Shopify to this problem. In the additional scripts text, use this code format that I'm showing here, which I'll also post below in the video description. Any pixels that you only want to run once the first time that the confirmation page is loaded, you're going to want to put right here. Delete this line and put those pixels there. Any scripts or pixels that you think should run all the time, like for example, if you want page view to log anytime the confirmation page is viewed, even if it's a duplicate view, then you could load that here as well. Generally, you only want pixels to fire once though, so you should really just put them here unless there's a specific reason you want them to run every time. So how did the client react to this unhappy news? Well, believe it or not, the agency was not very happy with what I showed them. The employee that was in charge of the ad account tried pretty hard to defend the existing setup because the bad data, honestly, was making him look really good. And he had a hard time admitting that he wasn't as good at what he's doing as the data made him look. Even his boss was a little reluctant to accept the pretty obvious truth. After all, what client would want to hear, hey, your ad results for the past year or so have been totally overinflated by a huge percent. Sorry, nobody's going to want to hear that, right? And the boss isn't going to want to have to say that. But in the end, there's no denying the truth. The data didn't lie, and the agency ended up telling the client what happened. The really sad part was all the past data was basically worthless. So we had to start from scratch, learning what actually was driving conversions and what wasn't. But better late than never, though. Moral of the story, make sure your pixel data is correct before running ads. Alright, do you need help with your Facebook pixel? Of course, you could check out my done-for-you services on my website if you need help with your Facebook pixel, but you could also sign up for my free e-commerce ads course, which includes basic training on the Facebook pixel. Or feel free to leave a comment below. I'll help if I can. Thanks for watching.